Hi there, and welcome. Today we are going to explore a really profound story about humanity facing a very dark disaster. We'll be using simple, clear English so we can all easily understand the deep meaning together. The book is called The Plague, and it was written by a brilliant writer and philosopher named Albert Camus. Camus asked a really tough question. How do we live in a world that is sometimes unfair and just doesn't seem to have any clear meaning? Because let's be honest, life can be very hard. Sometimes very bad things happen to very good people. Camus called this confusing, empty feeling the absurd, and his books are a famous part of what we call the literature of the absurd. The world doesn't always give us clear answers, but Camus deeply believed we must still try to do good anyway. So let's explore this beautiful story about human love, duty, and survival together.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our visual roadmap for today's journey of moral growth. First, we will visit the town of Oran. Second, we'll see exactly how different people react to extreme fear. Third, we will watch them learn to fight the sickness together. Fourth, we'll learn about true duty in dark times. And finally, we will uncover some really powerful lessons for our own future. All right, let's get started. Section 1. The town of Oran. The crucible begins. Our story happens in a busy coastal town in North Africa called Oran. Now, before the disaster hits, Oran is just a totally ordinary, kind of boring place. The people there really only care about making money and working. They don't think much about love or the deep meaning of life. But then, suddenly, terrible and strange things start to happen. Now, looking at this like a literary critic, I have to point out a huge secret about this book. This sickness is actually a metaphor. A metaphor is a symbol. The plague in this story represents much bigger things. It can mean a terrible war, like World War II. It can mean a modern pandemic, or really any great social disaster that completely breaks our normal, everyday life. Let's slowly walk through this timeline and see how the terror grows. It starts in the spring. First, just one dead rat appears. Then, 10. Before long, literally thousands of dead rats cover the streets. It brings this heavy, dark fear over the whole town. Soon, people start getting a really high fever. It's the bubonic plague, a terrifying, deadly disease. Then the extreme heat of summer arrives, and the sickness just explodes. The town is filled with death and sadness. The disease controls absolutely everything. But finally, the cold winter comes, and the sickness slowly begins to stop. By February, the danger ends and the gates open. But as you can imagine, that journey from spring to winter is full of deep, deep pain. Because the disease spreads so incredibly fast, the leaders of the town have to make a really hard choice. The heavy gates of the town are locked shut. Nobody can go out and nobody can come in. The people of Oran are completely trapped, cut off from the entire world. It's absolute isolation. And when this happens, the community just breaks down. People feel lonely, scared, and angry. Think about our own modern world for a second. When a real virus forces us to stay home, we feel this exact same pain, right? The people in Oran lose their friends and families on the outside. At first, they become quite selfish because they are just so terrified of being trapped inside those closed walls.
Section 2. Reactions to the plague, how people respond. In a terrible crisis, every single person reacts in their own unique way. Let's see what happens next. So, the crucial point here is this deep philosophical idea of absurd suffering. Sometimes life can feel so empty. Very bad things happen to totally innocent people, like small children, and there's just no clear reason why. This painful feeling of emptiness is called nihilism. The absurd makes people feel like nothing matters at all. But the real key to Camus' story is resistance. Resistance means we absolutely do not give up. We fight this empty feeling. We fight the unfairness of the world by making our own meaning and actively choosing to be good.
Let's contrast two very different men to see this in action. On one side, we have Cotard. He is a criminal, and he's a very lonely guy. Because he's so lonely, he actually likes the disaster. He uses the chaos to hide, and he's happy because the police are too busy to arrest him. He uses the dark times to be totally selfish. But on the other side is Joseph Grand. He is just a normal, quiet, humble office worker. He doesn't have magic powers or a big title. But you know what? He is a true hero. He quietly does his part to help by carefully keeping records of the sick people. It's boring work, but it literally saves lives. He perfectly shows us how ordinary people can shine so brightly in the darkest times.
Here are two more characters who go through a huge interchange. Father Panelot is the local priest. At first, he tells everyone that the illness is just God's punishment for bad people, but later, he has to watch an innocent little child suffer and die. It completely breaks his belief, and he feels totally lost. Then we have Raymond Rambert. He is a visiting journalist. At first, he just wants to escape the locked town to get back to the woman he loves in Paris. It's a bit of a selfish love. But as he watches the town fighting the sickness, he experiences this beautiful moral growth. He realizes he can't be truly happy if everyone around him is suffering. So he changes his mind and chooses to stay and help.
Moving on to Section 3, Fighting the Disease Together, Solidarity. Now we see how people join forces to fight the darkness through teamwork.
And this brilliantly illustrates the philosophical value of teamwork, what we call solidarity. In an absurd, dark world, standing together is our absolute best weapon. Dr. Bernard Rieux and his good friend Jean Tarot organize special volunteer teams. They don't believe in magic and they don't pretend to be superheroes. They just believe in hard work and friendship. Normal, everyday people join them. Together, they fight the disease, clean the dirty town, and care for the sick. Tarot and Rieux know they could easily catch the disease and die, but this is their existential resistance. They look at this dark, unfair world and boldly say, we are human and we will protect each other.
Section 4, Duty in Dark Times, the Heroism of Daily Work. Let's really focus in on the main character, Dr. Rieux, who shows us the true meaning of duty.
Dr. Rieux is literally surrounded by sickness, but he never, ever gives up. He is completely exhausted, just bone tired, but he continues to work day and night to treat the sick. Why does he do it? He says, I don't try to be a saint. I just try to be a good doctor. This is a beautiful concept called occupational integrity. It means doing your job perfectly and honestly, even when the whole world is falling apart. He isn't looking for fame or glory. He shows us that true heroism isn't about big movie-style battles. It's simply about doing your daily job with an honest heart when things are incredibly hard.
So Albert Camus actually breaks down a clear set of action guidelines for our own lives to help us overcome everyday pain and suffering. Step 1, a disaster happens. Step 2, people naturally feel fear and anger. That's totally human. But step 3, we fight back by doing our daily work together. If our modern society is going through a hard time, what can you do? Well, check on your neighbor, speak kind words. If you are a teacher, teach your students with love. If you are a student, study hard. Just do your normal job with deep care. These small, honest, everyday actions are the actual glue that holds our broken world together.
Section 5. Lessons for the future. What we must remember. The dark time is almost over, and we are reaching the ultimate lessons of the story. Finally, winter arrives. The cold air brings healing to the town. The rats return, which, strangely enough, is actually a great sign that nature is going back to normal. The numbers of sick people drop super fast. And then, in February, the gates finally open. The community is joyfully reunited. Families and friends find each other in the streets with loud cheers, hugs, and tears. But they are changed. They've lost people they love. They've learned that human life is incredibly fragile. But because life is so fragile, those hugs and tears are just so much more meaningful now. The community that was broken is finally strong and connected again.
At the very end of it all, Dr. Rieux writes this absolutely beautiful realization. There is more to admire in people than to hate. Why is this so incredibly powerful? Think about it. This doctor saw thousands of people die. He saw dark, terrible fear. He saw selfish men who took advantage of the chaos. But despite all that darkness, the disaster proved one undeniable truth. Human kindness is ultimately stronger than fear. Deep down, humans are good. When times are the absolute hardest, our love and our willingness to help each other shine the brightest.
But the story does end with a gentle warning. Remember, the plague is a metaphor. Dr. Rieux knows the disease is never truly gone forever. It's just sleeping. It can always return one day as a new virus, a war, or even just a period of deep personal sadness. So this leaves us with a powerful question to reflect on. When the darkness returns to our modern world, what will you do? What small, good things will you do for your community to show your own occupational integrity? I really hope this story gives you courage. We can always fight the dark by doing our daily work with love. Thank you so much for taking this beautiful journey with me today.